First two episodes, the first three episodes were taken in neighborhoods and in a park. I figured we'd do some beach views here. There's no beach, but.
Welcome to the Marathon Mile.
I'm glad to be here on the day before Father's Day.
Yes. We actually just ate over there at a place called Burlou's. Talk a little bit about your background.
Grew up in the Bronx, went to high school in the Bronx, Cardinal Spellman, St. John's University in Queens, met a girl in Brooklyn, worked in Manhattan for 35 years. Now I live in Jersey for 22.
Just out here and raising money for the Brain
and Behavior Foundation.
Yep, that's the organization. So I found this charity and they got like a really high rating, somewhere in like the 90, 95 area. And like to give you an understanding, I think St. Jude's, another very reputable organization.
Which I give to.
I think they got like in the 80s.
Yeah, that's still good.
So, mile 4.
Mile 4.
So you have two options. The first option, for a donation of $26.20, you could pick your topic. Or I have a topic on the back of this card, and you could alternatively choose this option.
I mean, like, what does your audience want to hear?
Well, they want to hear what you're interested in doing.
What's an example of a topic that I can even pick?
Anything you want.
Well, one thing I thought of, I don't know if this is something that is, if it's a...
Yeah.
Now that I'm retired, I spend all week, most of the week I spend reading and watching movies and listening to CDs. One thing just to give you an idea, the last 100 weeks, I read 700 books in 100 weeks. Now you could do the math. That's a book a day for 2 years. It was either that or watch the news, which I could not watch. So anyway, having read 700 books in a 2-year period, you can see that I read a lot. Books of all time, which everyone should read. Number 1 is Lonesome Dove. It's about 800 pages, so you really sink your teeth into it. And when it's over, you're sad that it's over. You just want it to go on. Then we have Agatha Christie, and Then There Were None. Of course, Lord of the Rings has to be included. Philip K. Dick, I would say, you want to start, the book I read, which made me go out and buy every one of his 50 books, is Ubik, U-B-I-K. Don DeLillo, White Noise. That's the guy who amazingly, when I read him, every sentence is like a gorgeous work of art. Talking about albums, A Hard Day's Night has probably the most classics on it. You have Sgt. Pepper, which obviously is probably their most important album, in terms of influence. Other than that, I would have to throw in Led Zeppelin 1, the best debut album of all time. Jimi Hendrix, Electric Ladyland. Get Flowers, you'll love it. Oh, The Who. Who's Next? You got to get Who's Next. And the only other thing is movies. And my favorite movie was The Wild Bunch in 1969. And when it came out on TV, they edited so much of the violence out that you were never even going to see. You could watch it on TV 100 times, you were never going to see the good parts of the movie. Bonnie and Clyde, another great one. Yeah. Lord of the Rings movies, of course. Then you got the two classics, The Wizard of Oz and Casablanca. I don't know, if you want to see a scary movie, The Exorcist, that scares the shit out of people.
It's interesting how much like art form has an influence over your life.
Yeah.
Because like for me, like whenever I'm doing a project, this Marathon Mile being a project, I think of it as an adventure. And a lot of times my mind kind of like thinks of the analogy of the Lord of the Rings, like you're going to Mordor.
Yeah.
The distance across all these lands.
Yep.
And through it all, you build up friendships and you have these barriers you hit, and it's just a beautiful thing.
I read 700 books. I got them all out of the library. Go to the library is my tip. Get Spotify Premium. It's $9 a month. I had 40,000 songs on my iPad. I thought I was a big cheese. There are 40 million songs on Spotify. Movies, I have Netflix.
Definitely have this guy to thank for all the music I bring to the table, heavily influenced by my dad. We just hit a mile.
All right.
As a badge of honor. The other thing about music and the brain is there's something called the corpus callosum or callosum.
Yeah.
It's the part in between your left and right hemisphere, and supposedly music actually strengthens that area.
I mean, there are serious things you could read too. I mean, you could read, I know several books by famous authors who were going to commit suicide and didn't, and wrote books about it, you know. That might help people that have mental illnesses. How did this guy get through it, you know? I was never depressed like where I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning, but when my mother died after being sick with cancer for like 3 months, actually over 5 years, but the last 3 months she was in intensive care, and I lost my sense of humor. It's a bad sign mentally when you don't have a sense of humor. The two movies that made me laugh the most, Blazing Saddles was hysterical, and The Monster.
Oh,
there were two scenes in that had me, I had to pause the movie, I was laughing so hard.
I always have one question that I ask all my guests at the end, and that's, what do you do for your mental health?
What do I do for my mental health? I would think that what I do to keep myself occupied, if I just sat and did nothing, I find that all the stuff that I do with the movies and the books and the music is like exercise for my brain. So when you keep your brain active and exercise, it's like a muscle, and you exercise it. If you don't exercise, you never walk or you never do anything with your arms or whatever, they're gonna just rot away and
atrophy.
Similarly, your brain, if you don't exercise it, it's gonna just, not rot away, but it's gonna, you might tend to think about things that are not good for your mental health. I'm passing the baton now to mile 5, whoever that might be.
Stay sharp.